morning, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Thanks for joining us for this AWS webinar with Tarun Dave, AWS Security, Identity, and Access Management. Security, of course, is essential for any application, but when that application is hosted on a public cloud, security becomes vital. So the popularity of Amazon Web Services as the preferred public cloud is largely due to its reputation as the most secure cloud platform on the market. AWS Identity and Access Management plays a key role in providing secure and controlled access to AWS resources. So in this session, Tarun is going to explain IAM users, groups, roles, and so forth to better secure your information with AWS. Now, if you are not familiar with Tarun, let me fill you in a little bit. He is an evangelist for AWS, an AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate with more than 15 years of work experience as a consultant, a technical architect, and a project leader. Throughout his career, he has managed teams as large as 30 or more working with various global clients, including the large MNCs of India and the US, and now he is working with startups and organizations to help them design and migrate their apps to AWS. He's also an active blogger and a content writer on this topic, and as a trainer, he has conducted training sessions for over 800 participants on the AWS Solution Architect Associate Level exam. So we're very lucky to have him here, and he's going to definitely be peeling the curtains away from the mystery of AWS for you. Before we get started, I just want to make sure everybody's hearing us okay and familiarize you all with your dashboard. So go ahead and take a look at the dashboard and find the questions module. That's a place for you, not the chat module, but the questions module. Go ahead and find that questions module and type in there for me if you would. Just say hello to Tarun so that he knows you're here and that you're happy he's ready to start and you're looking forward to hearing some good stuff. There we go. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Anukul. I see Deanna from Austin. I think, Deanna, you were with us a couple of days ago, too, if I'm not mistaken. So great. That's terrific. Thank you for doing that. That way I know that you're hearing me and I'm not just talking into the darkness. The questions module will be your best friend as we go. We've got about a 45-minute presentation today. If you have questions, go ahead and type them into this questions module. We will loop back around after the presentation and get through as many questions as we possibly can, but go ahead and type them in there and we'll queue them up and consolidate them where we need to if we have a group of people all asking the same thing, and sometimes that happens. If you hear something super awesome and that you want to share on your social channels, feel free to do so. Go ahead and live tweet or Facebook or what have you. You can use the hashtag SLWebinars and let folks know about all the awesomeness that you're learning and make them all jealous that they're not here, and maybe they'll join us next time. That's all you need to hear from me. I'm going to turn this over to our presenter, Tarun Dave, and go ahead and grab yourselves a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or a glass of wine, whatever's appropriate, and sit back, and my friend Tarun is going to lay the wisdom down. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, Chip. Thanks a lot. Very good evening to you also. Welcome all to Simplilearn, and thanks, Chip, again for giving a wonderful introduction about me as well as engaging participants. I welcome everyone again, and today we are going to talk about a very interesting topic: AWS security with identity and access management. Now we all know the public cloud is the flavor of the this now decade. Now everybody started moving, or I would say cloud is the flavor of the decade, and everybody started moving to the cloud, and now Amazon rules that cloud world. When you talk about the cloud, everybody always, when you ask anyone what is cloud, and the one thing would be, oh, it's not secure. That was around 5 years back or multiple years back, I would say. It's not same anymore. We would see some of the mysteries of the cloud, but we would try to solve some of those mysteries with Amazon Web Services, identity and access management. But today, we are going to learn about what is IAM. You would also learn about the IAM users, groups and policies, IAM roles and authentications, and some of the best practices. When you want to work with Amazon, the security best practices are the way to go for you. But before we begin, Chip has already introduced me. I am Tarun Dave. I'm myself an AWS Solution Architect trainer, where I've conducted more than 30 plus training sessions for 800 plus participants on Amazon Solution Architect Associate level exam. And that makes me, I'm also AWS Solution Architect Associate level. I'm having total 16 plus years of IT experience. After the last 5 years, I'm working with Amazon. I've worked with the leading MNCs of India on research, cloud projects. I keep on doing blogging, content creation for Amazon. Currently, as a full-time role, I would say I'm working as an AWS solution architect and mentor. I'm mentoring a few startups. Some of the organizations I'm working as a consulting architect. I'm involved in designing, architecting, managing infrastructure for large as well as small-scale applications. As a trainer, I'm doing this training since more than 4 years and responsible for designing content, workshop management, assignment, quiz. The most important thing, I'm passionate about Amazon. Amazon is one of my love. I always love to explore more and more about Amazon. I keep on telling people Amazon is like an ocean and you always need to keep on swimming across that, because there would not be an end, because there are so many things every time Amazon keeps on adding to learn about that. As part of that, I have also written a few white papers, articles on Amazon too. So that's about me. But what is IAM? It's not IAM, it's IAM. It's Identity and Access Management. So let's start with some example. Start with a small startup. I'll take an example. My Hope is a startup where currently it's been formed by 3 people only. So the 3 people, they would love their fancy titles, all CXOs. So one would be CEO, one would be CTO, one would be COO. They would be. Basically, they all would be doing programming. They all would be doing the development. They all would be doing marketing. They would be responsible for everything. When you are a small company, you are a startup, Amazon is a very lucrative for you. It comes handy, easy to use, cheaper, pay-as-you-go model, scalable, everything what you want would Amazon would deliver to you. So it's no wonder the startup would always go with this Amazon as one of the options. Now, when they hosted everything on Amazon, what is the thing they would be doing? Generally, when you register with Amazon, you would be registering with your email ID, and Amazon, you would define a password over there. That is known as your root account. A root account means with which account you have registered with the Amazon. Now, you believe or not, the same account is valid for the all Amazon shopping also. Whether you shop on Amazon.com or Amazon.in, the same account is valid. And vice versa is also true. If you already have an account registered with Amazon, you can use that with AWS too. So root account you would be using to register with your Amazon account, start over there, start using various services, you would be doing that. This would be okay since you have a smaller team. What if the team starts growing? Team starts growing. The CEO would be adding more and more product team, the project management team. The CTO would be adding more development, testing, production team. The CEO would be also adding HR, admin. Everybody would love to have access to Amazon. They would have their own purpose. It's not for the application, but something they would have some access for the billing. Somebody would like to see for the backups. Somebody would like to see for the deployment. Somebody would like to access for the testing. Everybody would have a different kind of a requirement to access Amazon. Now the challenge starts here. If you give root account access, the main account access to everyone, how would it work for you? You would have no tracking. How does this work for you? Who is going to change what? Somebody might, though he might not have a malign intentions, but he might do something by mistake. He might kill your production instance also. This all could happen. You need to secure your Amazon resources. It's also very important. How do you provide these people right kind of access so they access Amazon systems in a correct way and your production system or water system stays intact? Amazon IAM comes handy for that. AWS IAM enables you to securely control access to Amazon services and resource for your users. Now this is a very important word to note. IAM is especially when you want to provide secure access to Amazon services and resources for your users. This is a very important thing. What is so special here? For example, you have hosted a web application in Amazon EC2 service. Now, if you don't know EC2, you always have a chance. Join us in our AWS Tech Essential course. You would learn more about that. Almost 30 plus services of Amazon, we would be giving you an overview, introduction, learning about those services. So you could always learn about that Amazon in our course. Coming back to EC2 would be a one hosting service offered by Amazon where it's like a virtual server in the cloud. You would always think, oh, in that server, if I want to ever access, that's only somebody can access my app server, somebody can do the configuration file. Would that be possible? Remember, this is not the case of IAM. IAM is a service when you want to work with Amazon as a service. So you want to, Amazon has almost 50 offerings. I would start with EC2, EBS, RDS, S3, VPC, ELB, auto scaling, CloudFront, CloudWatch, Elastic Load Balancer, 2, IAM, and billing, and many more. You keep on going. I may got tired also remembering each and every one. All those services would have a different kind of a purpose. Some service would be for networking, some service would be for storage, some service for the backup, some service for the security, some service for the services. There would be different aspects available. So think of that in your organization, everybody would be accessing Amazon for different purpose. For example, your CFO team might access it for the billing purpose only. Right? Your HR team may, or HR team outcome, and last, your testing team would access the only testing part only. They would be just having a read-only access. The development team would have only access to the development servers, not to full access. Your IS team might have access only to your backup part, so they need to take the backup regularly. Every team would have a different kind of a purpose or different kind of a service they are going to use within Amazon. IAM is for that purpose. You can create various users within IAM and give each user different kind of an access. It gives you lots of security. Why? Because now you are the users. The user would have only restricted access. So one user logs in and he can perform only production tasks. One user can log in and he can see only billing tasks. If you are an HR user would log in and can only do this IAM task where the duty is to create the users and manage the permission, to managing the resources. One would be only for the backup part, one would be for the testing, one would be for the database management. There would be different kind of roles, or the users would be doing various kind of activities. IAM helps you to define those kind of users. You create the users, you give this kind of a permission of that users to the various people. So various Amazon service access you can give to them. Now think over, if we go back to our previous slide, just go back there. If you have thought about, now this is CEO has a 2 major team heads, CTO has a 3 major team heads, but now imagine each team head would have a multiple users as part of that. Development would have a 30 people, testing would have a 10 people, production might have a 20 people. That means you have to create a 30 plus 10 plus 20, 60 users you have to create. That you can anyway create. But does it mean that you have to go to each and every user and define a permission for them? You would go in development user and say, oh, you have a permission for only development. Now there is a development guy A and development guy B and development guy C. For each and every user, if you have to define the permission, it's going to be tiresome. Because in future, if you change permission, what development team can do, you have to go to all 30 users. That's not what the ideal case for you. And that's why IAM offers the concept called groups. Group is nothing but the collection of the users. You can add users to multiple groups. You can think of it like a department. The person in the same department would have the same kind of duties. Exactly same thing. You add those users to a groups, and those you assign policy or permission only at group level. All users belonging to that group would have that permission. So users and groups. Now comes one of the most powerful thing which is getting popular within Amazon is roles. Roles are like groups only, but they have a different purpose altogether. Roles are for special entities, or you can say they are like a pseudo groups or dummy groups. What is it exactly? We will see in our upcoming slides. You create all these things, now you define the policies, what each user or role or group would be having access to. That is what your policy would be doing. Once you define that policy, you can assign a policy to the user or group or role. Based on that, they would be having a various access. What if organization has grown tremendously? Now I have 10,000 employees. Out of that, 8,000 are doing development work. Do I need to create those 8,000 people, and for all those 8,000 I have to make those groups and everything? That's the tiresome job. Amazon offers identity federation service. That is where you can have your own organization directory service like Active Directory, LDAP, something which can integrate with Amazon and give you secure access of your Amazon resources. So just by logging to your identity services or directory service of your organization, you can define what kind of a rules or what kind of a permission you would have. Okay, someone is saying he's having some kind of a noise. I'm not sure if everybody is having the same. Then we also have a fine-grained access to Amazon resources. The major purpose of this is you get very fine-grained access to Amazon resources. Like if you want to assign someone, you can only launch an instance. You want to assign someone, you can only take the backup. You want to assign someone, you can only do the database management. This kind of a very fine-grained access you can give to the various resources. That's what is possible for the IAM. And the icing on the cake is whole service is free of cost. You don't need to pay anything to Amazon. You can achieve the security thing with Amazon without paying anything to AWS. By the way, if you have questions, you can always keep on posting your questions here.
Just with regard to the, hey Tyrone, just with regard to the noise, I think it might be a mic placement thing. We seem to be picking up, maybe there's some rubbing of your clothing on the microphone, or maybe there's a little wind or something, but that's
just
what they're
a moment.
referring to.
Let me adjust that, just a moment. Is it better now?
Yes, that sounds pretty good. Yeah, I don't
Perfect.
hear it now. There you go.
Great, great. Okay, so we're talking about IAM. Now, how do you work in the IAM? You have to create. First step would be you would be creating a user. Now, once you have created the users, the second step would be you might be creating groups. Add that user to a group. A single user is part of multiple groups. So for example, backup admin. So he to the user also, I also.
I'm sorry, Tyrone. We're
logs into Amazon. You would have both. Can be part of multiple.
Tyrone, we're losing you now. I'm sorry. I don't know if you made a change to your microphone, but now I'm afraid we're losing you altogether now. I don't know if you switched microphones or what, but we got rid of the noise in the background, but now you're cutting out. I'm sorry.
Oh, is it? My voice is not clear now? Is it still?
Well, that sounds great right now, but when you were just speaking a moment ago, you dropped out on us completely there for a moment. So we'll continue to move.
Not sure if it happened. Perfect. If anybody finds problem, do let me know. Not sure if that was a temporary thing.
Yep. I think we're good. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Perfect. Yeah. So a user can be part of multiple groups, and that gives you an advantage also, because if you have to create a policy, you create policy only at a group level and add various users to different groups and manage them. After all this policy assignment, the user can access Amazon resources. They can log into AWS console and they can manage that part of that. That's how you achieve the security. Don't give everyone everything. Give them what they deserve. So there is a different groups who would have a different kind of access. Give them only that kind of access only. Then let's talk about these users groups a little bit more about that. You would be creating users as per your access requirement. Because you might have a requirement, you would have like to have a user for the development, you might have a user for the testing, you might have a user for the backup. You would be creating various users for that. Each user would have their own kind of a credentials. They would have their own keys, they would have a password, they would have a tokens to access Amazon resources. Even they would have a separate AWS login console. Because your normal login control or AWS console is for all AWS account users. When you go to IAM users, they would have their separate login console also. So each user would have their own credentials. They would have also, you can assign them individual permissions. They can part of the group or they can work independently also. And this permission can be as powerful as a root user or as minimal as a no access. So you can define various kind of permissions and the user would be access the resources. When I go to the group, this is how the group would look like. So this is my hope. Like there is a testing team, then development team. The team keeps growing. Each user you have to add to the group, and for that group level, you would be assigning various permissions. So you would be assigning permission for the group people, and advantage is if John is part of the testing, he would have all the access what is defined at the testing level. Now you can also add John to development group also. Then John can access something what testing team can do, even he can access what development team can do also. That's how the group thing would work for you. Advantage is you can easily manage permissions. And this permission is union of all. So one user is part of multiple groups, you would have access of all the group permissions defined for each group. Advantage, you have to apply change at only single place. You change a policy, you apply only one place, it's managed for all the users of the group. And you can always make multiple groups based on your requirement. Now when you want to work with the Amazon, you have to think about this. Who is going to access this? Again, I reiterate the same thing. IAM is for giving secure access to Amazon resources. Now, when you want to give the secure access, you have to decide who is going to access all this. Now, even if he is going to access, what all things he is going to access? Is he going to access EC2, RDS, S3, ELB? Don't worry, these all are the core service of Amazon. And you would also know what all action he would be doing within Amazon. Now what all action would be, whether he's going to start an instance, he's going to terminate things, he's going to take the backup, he's going to do delete part, what kind of action that person is going to do. You want to control better, you can always add more conditions saying, what time is he going to access, so when is he going to access, from where, from which IP address is he going to access, how is he going to access, so for which resource he is going to access. You can define all these conditions and that would help you to define an IAM policy. A policy is nothing but the kind of a rules you define for either user or group or role, which entitles them to access of various Amazon services. If you want to get some analogy, you have a Windows machine. Now Windows machine, you would be adding various users. One user would be administrator, one user would be the guest user, one might be a normal users. There would be multiple users. Now how do you define administrator? You would also define certain kind of a permission for that user. When you define role, for that role also you would be, or you would say he's a guest and he can only see certain part of the things. He would not have a certain kind of access. How do you define? That's what you define in the policy. Exactly same concept here. But it is not at OS level, here this is at IAM level. IAM has over 50 plus services. For various services, there are various actions we are performing, and for all those actions, you define a policy. So here you identify which permissions to be assigned. You would also say create a policy. You would also use ready policy templates. So Amazon also gives you ready to use policies. So you don't want to create your own policy, you can use ready policy. You want to create your own policy, you can do that. Amazon also provides a ready to or policy creation tools which you can use. Now after creation, assign that policy to a user, group or role. Advantage is you have the granular level control. Very finer level control you can define what all the person can access and what he cannot do that. Very easy to manage. The policy is always in JSON format. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. It's in JSON format, so easy to manage those changes. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. Amazon has ready templates. Why do you go and create your own? Use the ready one. You can create policy for various Amazon resources like S3, IAM, SQS and all of that. The policy is what entitles you to access various resources. Whether you are part of you are an individual user, or this user is part of a group, or there is something role, the policy assigned to that user group or role entitles that user group or role to perform certain action. You want to define certain kind of conditions, you can always do that. Like you want to give an example, my development team can access only micro and small instance. Now micro means 1 GB RAM machine, small means 2 GB RAM machine. You want to define if there is a my development team, they can work only with a 1 GB and 2 GB RAM machine. They cannot work with the larger machine. Or there's a testing team, they can only access test machines, not any other machine. If I have my backup team, they can take only backup part, but they cannot do any creation part. If there's a production team, they would have all access to EC2, but they do not have the finance and billing access. I don't want to show how much I'm spending on Amazon. It's my worry. If I have a storage team, they would be responsible for my Amazon internet-based storage called S3. So you can define all this kind of a policy and permission which would entitle the user to access various kind of a resources at Amazon level. And you would say, what is the use of this? When you start using Amazon, as I said, Amazon is an ocean. And you know, when you start using, you would find it's not the one person would manage that. There would be lots of services and you need to give them the various kind of access. That's how the AWS would be very helpful to you. So these are some of the simple policies I've listed down for you. So for here, a policy would have a statement as a first thing. That's what everything would be part of a statement. Then it would be a sequence ID or statement ID. That is what a unique number given by Amazon. Apart from that, you can define what all kind of action user can perform. Right here you can say user is allowed to attach volume, create snapshot, create volume, describe snapshot, detach volume, kind of action he can perform. But whether he can or not, that is mentioned here. Whether you are allowing him or denying him. You want to add conditions, you can add conditions also in the condition block. So this is the kind of a policy in JSON format which would help you to define what are the kind of resources you can access. Within that resource also, which all action you can perform, everything you can define as part of a policy. As I said before, I want to give an analogy. When you take the analogy of your Windows machine, you create a user, and for that each user you would be defining certain kind of a policy or resource access. Exactly same thing you are doing here, where you are giving the user access. Then comes the IAM roles. Roles are getting very popular within Amazon. They are a very, very important part of the Amazon. What is the role doing? An IAM role is very similar to a group or a user. Here it's like an AWS identity with a permission policy that determine what that identity can do and cannot do in Amazon. You would say it looks almost like group or user, because every time you are saying you are entitling something to perform something. So here also role is doing same. What is the difference in the role? If role has a permission, a group would have a permission. What is it doing differently? Here, instead of being uniquely associated with a person, a role is assumed by anyone who needs it. Now this is a tricky statement. Why would you need this kind of a role? Role, if I want to give another analogy, a user or group is for the living thing. Like a human interaction would come, that is where the user or group would be coming in a picture. But when you want to work with the non-living thing, role would come in a picture. And now you would say, you are making me confused. Why the non-living thing would work on the IAM or Amazon? Take an example. You have written a program within Java, Ruby, Python, somewhere programming language, which uploads data to Amazon S3. Now Amazon S3 is a storage system. So you would think of it would be uploading data to the Amazon S3. The most popular use case of the Amazon S3 are, or rather now there were, is Dropbox, Instagram. When you upload a file into Dropbox, eventually that was getting stored in Amazon S3. When you before Instagram went to Facebook, you upload any file or any photo to Instagram, that is being stored to the Amazon S3. So internally, a program calls Amazon service and uploads data to there. Now that program needs to know where should I upload, and does that at the same time Amazon service also needs to know whether that program which is making a call to me is having access or not. Otherwise people will misuse. Anybody would start flooding data at your end. That's why the role would be playing a key here. What you can do is you can have a virtual servers, machines, or various accounts where you assign the role to them. They become like a pseudo group or pseudo user. They would be assuming a role. A virtual machine would now assume a role, and that role says this is having an access to Amazon S3. Now this role is being assumed by virtual server. That server would have access to Amazon S3. So this way, if you see the analogy, it's like a pseudo or dummy group which is being assumed by some non-living thing. Non-living thing would be your programming language, could be some machine, could be some different Amazon account, or if you have written a code which wants to upload data to the Amazon directly without even having an IAM user, you can do that using roles. Amazon supports a concept called Web Identity Federation, where it supports Facebook, Google, Amazon, and SAML-based SAML, SAML-based authentication mechanism, which allows to upload data without getting registered with Amazon. Though it's a complete separate topic, we might be talking a little bit more about during our tech essential course. But coming back to our IAM roles part, role is where it would be uniquely identifying or associating you with certain non-living thing, or you can think of a program or a machine or account over there. So you use the role to delegate access to users, applications, or services. A role is essentially a set of permissions that would grant access to actions and resources in Amazon. Right, so it's a kind of a, at the end role would have a permission where you would say you are having a permission to perform, upload the data to Amazon S3. So that permission is assigned to role, and that role is assigned to a virtual machine. So eventually a virtual machine is having access to S3. Why do you need the role in this world? The biggest advantage is the better security mechanism. Before the existence of role, people were doing programming with Amazon. What were they doing? Amazon offers a concept called access key and secret access key. This is like your username and password only, which would be you have to put inside your code to get authenticated by Amazon. But that's not secure. If someone gets your keys, he can always log into your account and would misuse that. Why would you put a password and things in your code? With role, you don't need to put any username password inside the code. Rather, put the code in a server which is having a role assigned. Now, since the server is assuming that role, it can perform without having keys. In addition, the role automatically keeps rotating keys every few hours, so that way it would be much secure also. If I show you a few use cases of the role, these are some of the use cases of the roles. I'll start with the first role would be cross account permission. Let's understand, you have a testing account. Now in Amazon you have created two separate accounts completely. You have not created users. You have created two separate accounts. One is for the testing, one is for the production, another is for the development. Now testing team says, when I am trying to develop or I am trying to test something, it is failing. Development team says, oh, it's not failing here for me. Then you would say, okay, then do one thing, access my data. You can give testing account access of your certain data. This would be kind of a one-way traffic where testing can access only this data. They would not be able to access anything else. So here one account is having some kind of access. In the same case, think of when you have a production account. Now, production account has to fetch certain codes or data from the development. In that case, you can also provide them access of your development account, or vice versa. If development account needs to fetch certain database schemas or live data, some of the things they need to fetch, you can provide access to this account also. How does this work for here? There would be two separate accounts. If you see the right hand side image, there would be two separate accounts. Here you would be creating a role and assigning this role access of separate AWS account. So you create this role and you assign this role access of this AWS account. Now this role would make a call there. Using Amazon security token service, it would generate a temporary key, that's an access key, secret access key and token, which is valid for a few hours. So henceforth any calls this account is making to next account, it would send all these tokens, keys, everything part of that, which would be authorized by the second account and allows them to access. Second, and one of the very important cases, the identity federation. When we talk about this identity federation, what happens here? In the case of identity federation, you would see admin, on the left hand side, see admin will be creating a role that grants access to photo bucket. So you want to create a user which is having access to some Amazon bucket where you can upload your photos or some files, anything like Dropbox case or the Instagram case. Now developer would be launching a Amazon EC2 machine, that's a virtual server, which would be having this role assigned. Developer would have deployed his application on that virtual machine. Now application would make call to security token service, would get the credentials. Now whenever someone, this code application is trying to upload the code, it would always pass this temporary credentials like access key, secret access key, along with that, which would authorize by Amazon and allows you to work without giving your own keys. Because this is a temporary key. If you think on another example which we are talking about, the identity federation, where you want to allow a user to put data directly to DynamoDB. Take the case of the Pokemon Go. I'm sure that's also a favor of the month. Everybody is trying to find the Pokemon. Now When you have Pokemon Go application and you want to say that whenever I find a Pokemon, I want to store in the database. So that would be stored in Amazon's own database called DynamoDB. Now people are playing on the mobile application, right? When he wants to put the data in your application directly without bringing your application server or anything, rather the application directly wants to call the database, would that be possible? You would say that would not work, because how would the database know, how would database authorize the person? Amazon offers Amazon Cognito as part of IAM, which would allow to perform this. Where what you have to do is ask the user that do you want to push your Pokemon or you want to store your Pokemon to my database? Okay, do one thing. Log in with your Facebook, Amazon, Google ID. Oh, that everybody would do. Once he logs in, your application, the mobile application, would make a call to Amazon server, get a temporary key, access key, secret access key, using those Facebook or Google based authentication, and then it would allow the user to perform those database tasks without creating a separate user for that. It's a temporary thing which allows to that. And this has become so powerful within Amazon. It gives you so powerful. So now you don't need to create your own application, manage all the security. Even from your mobile application directly, you can call database. Without bringing your app server, web server in picture, you can do this in a much secure way with Amazon Identity Federation part. Now you say, that's all good. Do you think what's any additional security does Amazon provide? And that's where Amazon offers a service called multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor means there are two levels of authentications instead of one. Here normally you log into your AWS account, you would be logged in with a username and password. Here you log in with a username, password and a token. If you have known the VPN token, VPN fob, exactly the same thing it does. It provides one more level of authentication, and using that you would be able to log into your AWS resources. So it adds an additional layer of security in addition to your username and password. Advantage is this token can be generated by your mobile application also. There is an application called Google Authenticator which works with the Android and iOS both phones, and even Windows phones also. You can download that application, sync it with your AWS account. Now anytime you want to log in to Amazon account, you would be able to log in with your username, password, and it would enforce you to provide this 6-digit code to ensure you have a secure access to resources. Let's see some of the best practices offered by Amazon. And that's a murder mystery. Murder in the cloud. I was just talking about the MFA, and there is a case, this case has happened, and you can always Google on murder in the AWS cloud and you would find this InfoWorld article which says story about the codespaces.com. A couple of years back, codespaces.com was one of the most popular website for the developers. They were sharing the codes, repository, everything over there. They were hosted on Amazon because every startup, they would have all the advantages. One thing which they did not take care of was a security. They did not take care of the security, and they were not using these roles, they were not using IAM users, they were not using multi-factor authentication. They did not follow the Amazon security standards. And what happened? Somebody got hold of their account, whether it's username, password, or the keys. Someone got hold of that, and he literally hijacked the account, whether he or she, I don't know, hijacked the account and asked the ransom from codespaces.com. Before Codespaces could take certain preventive actions, they tried to approach Amazon. Before they could solve this, the hijacker deleted all the production servers. Hijacker deleted all the backup files also, deleted everything which was there, and that's what made the code space to die. He literally killed the code spaces. Now you can see, that's why you can say it's a domain is for sale. Because the one which was the best place for the developers is got killed because they did not take the enough precautions or measures for the security. And that's why you need to follow certain best practices for that. You have to define your security strategy and assign credentials accordingly. Never, never, never use your root account. Create each and every individual user and give them the access. I tell you my story. I used to manage 20, 30 plus AWS accounts myself, but I still never used myself Amazon root account. Root account means with the login ID, username, email, password. I always created an IAM user and login with that, because I know if someone gets my username password by any crook, I don't want to go fall into that trap. He can log into my account and kill everything. Instead of creating an individual user level policy, always define a policy at a group level. It's easy to manage and it's a powerful also, because if you would forget, if you have to change a policy for 50 users, that would not work for you. It's tiresome. Rather do it at a one user level only. Do not open permission for all. Rather be restrictive. Do not give everyone all the kind of access. This is not the world where you donate everything. This is the world where you collect everything, and as per his eligibility criteria, you assign him the permissions. You should also assign us some kind of a password policy at your organization level. IAM also supports that. Always use multi-factor authentication as an added level of security. Never use keys and while storing the data inside your AWS account or code. Rather use IAM roles. When you want to share the access like with the different accounts, use IAM roles. Always keep track of your activity. What you are doing, you should always track that. Amazon also offers a service called CloudTrail, which always helps you what are you accessing or not. So that's why if I want to summarize this, IAM is a powerful tool to manage secure access of Amazon resources. It's very easy to use. So in our Tech Essential course, we do all the demos and everything where we will be able to show you how you work with that. And once you create that, it's very easy to manage also. But if you did not manage it properly, you open all the permissions, it will create problems also. So that's why it's always advisable you understand your security need, define your use cases, and implement the policies accordingly. These are some of the references we have used for this slides. I hope this would be helpful for you also. And I open forum for the question and answer. I hope you all had a wonderful time. Thanks for listening to me. And this is I'm opening for now. Any questions you have?
That was fantastic. Thank you for that. It's always so great to see one of those horror story examples too of what happens when you don't take the proper precautions. Can imagine losing everything the way that those poor people did. We do have a couple of questions queued up that I've got offline here, but before we do that, I'm going to ask everybody to indulge me for about 60 seconds here while I take over the screen, and I'm going to show you all a quick poll. This is a public-facing webinar, so this webinar, of course, is available for anybody to attend, whether or not they are currently training with Simplilearn, or if you simply heard about this webinar through a friend or through a social posting or what have you. And that's great. We love having everybody here. It's our way to give back to the community and help folks get these kinds of insights from our subject matter experts to advance their careers. We do a dozen or more of these every month in a variety of disciplines across AWS and IT security, data science, project management, Six Sigma, digital marketing, all across a variety of skill sets. But our core service, just so folks know, is more than just these webinars. We are a business and technology training provider here at Simplilearn. We have over 400 web-based training courses in a wide variety of these professional skill sets. And most of these courses are accredited by over 40 of the third-party, recognized third-party certifying bodies like Prince2 and PMI and OMCP and the Open Group and so forth. We develop these trainings specifically to prepare you for the certification exams from those third parties. And we base our training materials on the very latest body of knowledge that is prescribed by those organizations. And all of this is designed and presented by our faculty of very experienced and professional trainers and working professionals like Tarun. So when you join these training programs, what you get is a complete structured course, all the information and the resources and the hands-on and practical experience that you're going to need to hone your skills and successfully pass that related certification test. In a lot of cases, you'll get lab exercises, you'll get simulation exams, you might get access to additional platforms or software where you can go run experiments and do practice projects. And on top of all of that, you also get access to a very active moderated forum. You can interact directly with the faculty and with other students, ask questions about the learning materials, or pose questions about how to address a particular real-world challenge that you're having in your business. So it's a tremendous resource for folks that want to really build and hone these professional skills to really set themselves apart in what is obviously becoming a more and more competitive world for folks with these kinds of technical skill sets. So if you're interested in learning more about the training beyond the webinars, if you tick the appropriate box, we'll have somebody get back in touch with you. There's no obligation, but you'll get a chance to maybe see the back end of the system and look at what the learning platform operates like, and we can give you a little guidance to help figure out which course series might be appropriate to meet the goals that you have for honing your skills and improving your career, your business. So thanks for indulging me. I wanted to make sure everybody understood that there was more beyond the webinars. I'm going to close this poll down here now, and we'll go back to Tarun's screen, and that's all I have to say about that. Again, thank you, sir. I've got a couple of quick questions here. We've got just a few minutes left before the end of the hour. I'll tackle the first question, which is always the most common. Is there a recording of this webinar available, and or can I get a hold of the slide deck? And the quick answer to that is yes, we record all of our webinars, and they are edited down and produced and put into the Simplilearn site. The timeline depends on the production team's schedule. If they're focused on new training courses, of course, which we always are, those take precedence, but we get these webinars recordings up as quickly as we can. And also keep an eye on the YouTube channel. More and more we're seeing this kind of material pushed up there as well. So if you haven't done that yet, you can go to YouTube and subscribe to the Simplilearn channel, and you'll get notified when new videos are added up there. Tarun, quick question here with regard to the comparison between AWS versus Google Cloud. Is there a significant security benefit to AWS over Google?
I would say yes. The reason is, though they both have the best of the resources available in the market, but the Amazon has done all the kind of certifications. So you think of that, whether it's ISO 27001, SOX 1, SOX 2 compliance, PCI DSS, or the Europe compliance, or the Cloud Security Alliance. You think of those, all the kind of a certification Amazon is having. Apart from that, Amazon provides lots of kind of encryption, secure data things. They also ensure the security of the data also within their organization also. So they have taken much more better security measures. In top of that, you have a service like IAM, roles, which I don't see available in Google, and that's why I would rate Amazon as much better in the security aspect than Google. Though I won't say Google is less, but yes, Amazon is having much better offerings here.
Very interesting. I'm surprised by that at Google. I would imagine that they're going to have to play some catch-up if they want to stay playing the game and be sure and install those roles like that.
Right. And to tell you frankly, Gartner releases their Magic Quadrant for the infrastructure service every year. The July quadrant is expected anytime. They just released for the storage service only. The major IaaS is yet to come. But Amazon is leader over there since 5 years. Google was in visionary till last year, and they started coming to the leaders quadrant since last year. I hope they would catch up a little bit, but they are still much far further. the nearest competitor to Amazon is Microsoft. As per the Gartner, the nearest competitor is Microsoft. The Amazon is undisputed king. The second would be the Microsoft, and third would be the Google.
The thing that seems so beautiful about the Amazon system is the scalability of it, being able to start so small and very granular and so inexpensively, and particularly, as you said, for startups and small organizations that just need to test the waters. Such a great way to get access to so much secure resources at a relatively low cost, or as you said, free early on, right, when you're just playing with it.
Exactly.
Is AWS Cloud a career path appropriate to people that want to work as private contractors, as consultants, or are more of the opportunities on in-house teams at an enterprise or level?
It's one of the best career paths right now. So some of the surveys recently shows that in USA, the average salary of a cloud architect, cloud consultant is almost $110,000. I'm saying almost, and that's an average only I'm talking about. And that's growing every year. The demand of AWS is growing a lot over there. Frankly, I just being a consultant myself, I get multiple requirements every week for the various kind of a need people are having on the Amazon. Because Amazon is widely accepted across the globe, not only USA or Europe, now it's India, China, everywhere Amazon is widely accepted. And that's why the demand is spiking a lot and lot. So it's one of the best career option you can think of.
That's good to know. It gives people much more flexibility in terms of what to do with their careers, and you don't have to sit around and wait for an in-house position somewhere because there's such a demand for the skill set. You can make your own schedule and pick your own clients. That's fantastic. One last question I've got here with regard to professional conferences and so forth. Is there a professional conference specifically for AWS and cloud where people can meet other practitioners and hear about trends in the industry that you would recommend that they might attend?
Right. So one of the best event is AWS reInvent that happens every October last week or November. I believe it's in November. I might not be exact, but you can always get the dates from the Amazon's website. That is where the whole world of the AWS who's and who's of would come and participate there. There would be hundreds of sessions going in parallel. That is one of the best places where you meet the people, socially connect with them. This is the place for you. So I would recommend for the people to go for that event that would be the best part. Second thing would be, you can always think of that there would be lots of the Amazon has started the different events online also. So they have lots of online events. You can just go and register over there. You would be learning a lot about Amazon. Amazon is having its own YouTube channel also where you can see lots of past webinars also. Apart from that, Amazon keeps on doing the lofts also regularly across the country. So you can participate there. So there are lots of events happening at the Amazon level. You could always check out those.
I just found the link for the reInvent, and I shared that into the chat, folks. So if you want to see that link in your chat module, you can click on that and get that into your browser. It looks like it's November 28th to December 2nd this year.
Right, so that's the date. I just opened it.
Perfect. Yeah, there you go. So you and I are looking at the same screen now. So, yep, that seems like a great place to go to find out about the resources and the conference and see what you can do to get yourself there. That's fantastic. I've got a couple of other links that I'm going to share into the chat module for folks to click out and take a look at. One of them, I've got a couple of links here for shortcuts to some of the courses on Simplilearn on AWS security and AWS in general, so take a look at those links there. That'll shortcut you into the beginning of a search into our system. And the other thing is a listing of all of the resources available by specialty and upcoming webinars by specialty. And again, I shortcutted you. Is shortcutted a word? I shortcut you to a search on AWS. And of course, you can also click around in that section of the site and find resources on a lot of different technical specialties, including AWS and beyond. And I see there, Tarun, you found the sessions on AWS reInvent.
Right, there are
Yeah.
123 sessions going to happen across 3 days. So it's the one place you should be.
No kidding. And you better spend some time figuring out your schedule ahead of time because there's no way you're going to get to all 123 sessions. So there's a lot to choose from there. But pick and choose the ones that are of most interest to you, and what a great resource that is. And we are at 9:30 my time. We've used up our hour. So thank you so much, Tarun, for being here and for sharing that. That's incredibly thorough and very granular, actionable recommendations for folks in your presentation. Very much
Hey,
appreciate
thanks a lot,
that.
Chip, and thanks everyone for joining. Hope you all had a wonderful time, and hope to see some of you to Tech Essential course.
Absolutely. And with that said, join us for another webinar real soon, everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your day or your evening to be here with us. And now to get back to work or get back to sleep, depending on where you are. Anukul says, thank you very much, Tarun. It was very engaging. All right, everybody. Have a terrific rest of your day or your evening. And until we see you next time, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.